netizens, back with me again, Aji Gautama Putrada. I am your lecturer for operating systems. This is a new meeting. We have reached fifth meeting. In this meeting, we will discuss about concurrency case study, and this is the first video. In the first video, we are talking about the consumer and producer problem. Let's start this video. So last week we have discussed about mutual exclusion and race condition and critical section, and we have discussed about semaphore, which is an implementation, a type of implementation of mutual exclusion, and we are going to discuss about where this semaphore can be implemented. First of all, last week we have learned about signaling, so this one is done, and today we are going to learn about consumer and producer problem. There are several other implementations that we will discuss probably later. So I am going to explain to you what consumer and producer problem is. So we are talking about a buffer. Here we can see a picture. In this picture we can see a buffer. You have learned about buffers and data structure in data structure course or struct. A buffer is a place where you can store some data. We are assuming that this buffer is first in, first out. So the buffer is FIFO. Everything that comes in first will come out first. And we have two programs or two threads, which is the producer and the consumer. And just as the name implies, the producer will fill the buffer and the consumer will take items from the buffer. So for example, here if producer fills the buffer with any value, perhaps 1, the producer only does one thing. It it fills the buffer with a value, and the consumer only does one thing. It takes the value from the buffer. So that is the consumer producer, but that doesn't describe the problem. What is the problem? The first thing is not what is the problem, but how many problems are there. There are 3 problems. Let's discuss those problems. So problem 1 is the producer and consumer cannot fill the buffer and take from the buffer at the same time. So for example, here producer fills the buffer with 1. That moment can happen at the same time as when the consumer takes 1. So this calls for mutual exclusion. Or when the producer fills the buffer, the consumer cannot. When it fails, the consumer cannot interrupt. And of course, we will implement this with a semaphore. So that is the end of video 1. In this video, we have successfully discussed about consumer and producer problem, and we have discussed one of the problems. In the next video, we will discuss about 2 more other problems. Thank you for your attention. Let's meet at the next video.